big debate in the hunting community, and like the Western guys don't like it, is guys from the East will say, oh, turkey hunting is just like hunting elk, because elk you'll call and you'll work a bull that way. And guys out West are like, that's not even close to how totally different. And it's a whole thing. But, those are somewhat that you do that with elk sometime. And that's why people like it somewhat. Sometimes during the whitetail rut, you can really get, bucks worked up by grunting and rattling their antlers together and stuff, which you'll see this fall if we do a follow-up hunt in deer season here. But no, turkeys are, they're kind of unique in the way that you work with them in the woods.
Yeah, they're smart enough. If we were trying to like hunt crows or something like that, you'd probably have to do a similar technique, just because there's there's a level of cognition there that deer in normal times don't have, and it's like turkeys might be the smartest thing we hunt, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, they're like both the smartest and so dumb.
Yeah,
it's like more like a computer than a sentient being sometimes to me. I don't, like a weird computer. All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Fair Chase podcast. Turkey season's done for us here in Michigan. Joe's out bear hunting, and I'm, back at home doing all the work. So hopefully he's doing well out there. But excited to come back to you this week. We've got a special friend of mine, Mark. Actually, Mark, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we'll get into why we're special friends.
I'm Mark Naida. I'm the editor of Michigan Enjoyer, which is a new news outlet for Michigan, focusing on Michigan lifestyle and politics in a fun new way that actually shows what's great about our state. And how James and I became great friends is we spent a weekend turkey hunting up in Big Rapids recently and had a great time doing it.
Yeah. A lot of fun. Yeah, no, Enjoyers, fairly new, but, we've kind of got involved with you guys just because we love Michigan, and we love other people who love Michigan, and talking about it and getting people to understand how great the state is and how unique it is. So you guys are doing really cool work and always interesting takes and kind of fun reading. So definitely check it out, everybody who hasn't heard about it and is interested, especially in Michigan, which is a lot of our listening audience. But the real meat and potatoes of this podcast is our turkey hunt that we did. This was your first hunt.
My first hunt ever. Yeah.
You'd shot guns before.
Yeah, just a couple times though. And based on it was, our hunt was a lot of me just carrying a gun around. So just
both hunts.
just even having a gun over my shoulder for 2 days was more. It was a less controlled environment. Normally, the other times I've shot was at a gun range doing clays. Someone just kind of hands it to you and says, it's good to go, blast away.
Mm-hmm.
So I got more experience loading. I got to look progressively cooler as the more I fooled around with the gun.
Yeah, you did.
With it.
At one point, you're like doing like the you're cocking with one hand,
Yeah. looking like an action hero.
Yeah.
But yeah, no hunting. My family, they didn't have any experience. I come from Metro Detroit, and there's definitely more of a fear of gun ownership there. My family didn't own guns. The closest I got to hunting was that my stepdad had a pellet gun that he would sometimes try to shoot groundhogs with off the back porch. But beyond that, never had tried it. And so it's definitely good to be on a hunt that you were guiding the first time.
Yeah, that was fun. So the way it worked was picked you up in Grand Rapids, and within a few hours of driving, we were at camp. You were still in your work, like you were in office work clothes, and I was just laughing because I pull up and I'm like in shorts and I'm in clothes that I'm about to change into hunting stuff, and you're like, you've got your laptop and your bag and stuff, so it's like, all right, time to make that big switch from the trade in the laptop for the shotgun type of deal.
But after an hour's drive, you can just do that. It's West Michigan's really amazing that way. You can be, from Grand Rapids, you can just be in the wilderness in no time at all.
Yeah.
Um, where if you're in Metro Detroit, you're in Metro Detroit for a long ways driving out.
The sprawling Detroit. Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
little different. It's a different type of wilderness in some areas outside of Detroit for sure. But I mean, so we went to camp, got a fire started, kind of got geared up, and like I had planned to get up there to go fishing, and then put the birds to bed because I'm like optimistic with my scheduling, and we like
Yeah, I was looking at the clock and I'm like, maybe James really kicks it into second gear, but what did not quite happen that way. But yeah, I mean, we heard turkey's our first night out, and then yeah, just walking the roads and see, for me, I thought the hunt was going to be more like we just kind of walked from camp out into a place. Not that we would be kind of driving from kind of honey hole to honey hole idea, but I think that saved our legs a lot to do it that way.
you still
More so,
in like 12 miles the first day, my watch said.
yeah,
So you still
I
walk.
felt it. I felt it, but you get those reprieves in just a little bit of car time, and in the morning to heat up in the car after a cold sleep on a cot. That was, it's life's small pleasures.
Yeah, you kind of come to appreciate different things living like that. So definitely the warm car. Some of the nights got colder than I expected. We were in the 30s, and like you said, the car drives were just good little moments of, because I'm the whole time I'm like, man, is he doing all right? Is this okay? Looking. And so it's good to hear that. And like clearly Jordan, our camera guy, was fine because the moment we'd get into our car, he would fart and then fall asleep. Basically every time. I think that's mostly what he did back there. OnX is the title sponsor of our podcast here at the Fair Chase, and it's a must-have app for all of us who love to explore the outdoors. Whether you're hunting or hiking or fly fishing, OnX gives you detailed, accurate maps right at your fingertips. With property boundaries, topographical features, and trail data, you'll always know where you are and where you're headed. You'll also likely be able to figure out where that big buck is headed to. Plus, their offline maps mean you're covered even in the most remote locations. OnX is the ultimate tool for outdoor navigation, making every adventure safer and more enjoyable. Download OnX today and explore with confidence.
He was taking it easy. It just felt like that was a moment to reset.
Yeah.
But also recognize just how little help I was with. I mean, it was kind of like you were hunting and I was the novice rifleman that you were sort of entertaining. But I think that that's how a lot of little guys start off with their dads, is that the dad is showing them basically where to shoot and their job is to pull the trigger. And you would even set up the gun for me as if I were partially blind or had like the worst reflexes of all. I had the sight, we had a tripod. It was if I had missed, that would have really been remarkable had I gotten a good shot. But
yeah, I mean, we did confirm that you would not have missed. You were without a tripod. We freehand, 30 something.
Well, with a sighted in red dot, I mean, it does all the work.
You got a spray shot. Yeah, you're like throwing a basketball. You get shooting a basketball at something. You got like that much. You actually probably have a little more at that distance for a turkey. So you got, no. But as we talked, I was trying to think of like things that I take for granted that I need to tell you about. And so, things that like normally I wouldn't discuss. But I'm like, man, is that a thing that he doesn't know that he should know, or at least that would make this interesting? So the whole time I'm like, come up with things to make this, interesting and fun for somebody that's not done it before.
Yeah, but just even the chance to be out in the woods just for an extended period of time and listen. And I mean, spring in Michigan is just amazing. I mean, the songbirds in the morning were just awesome. We saw so much wildlife, and then the turkeys were really active. It wasn't, we heard them everywhere. Yeah. So, it's and obviously deer are all around unafraid because this is not the time when they need to run and hide.
We saw a lot of deer.
Saw a lot of deer. Deer that were, yeah, I mean, if that's what hunting season was like, I think people would be much more into deer hunting if it was really that easy to just like you just sit in a decent spot and wait until they walk within 20 yards of you and then just blast away.
Man,
But
half the
not
time
so.
turkey hunting, I run into deer where they screw up the turkey hunting because they're not as scared of you. They're not wary at all. And then then you'll move and they'll see you and they, that blow that did we hear that? We heard that.
Yeah, we heard it a
Yeah.
couple times. Yeah.
That is what always screws up turkey hunting for me. It's like I'm like trying to get deer to, trying to scare them away.
Get out of here. Yeah.
Yeah, without like blowing. That's actually this
Because they're doing their dopey thing, but then the deer, the turkeys, it's like it's cultivated. It's song and dance. You gotta. It's really. It's not just sitting around waiting for something to happen. I mean, it's active.
That's the best part of turkey hunting. You're engaging with this bird and you're trying to get them to do something. I think we talked about this. Like their typical script is you fly down, you call your hens to you as a town, and then you kind of do your morning thing. And so what we're trying to do is call as a hen and get them to do something they're not naturally going to do, which is go to the hen. And that's a tricky to get them to do that it's saying something because it's like you're kind of working them a little bit.
Yeah.
And so what we did and what I like to do it's for our setup, a very, very basic setup. It's a hen and a Jake. Jake, that was that kind of sub adult male. And Jake's kind of, as you kind of have seen, we talked about a little bit. They kind of, they're not really welcome. They're not the boss, but they'll sometimes gang up with other Jakes and kind of train everywhere with all the time, like run toms out. And so it's kind of an interesting thing, like the flock dynamics and the way these like dinosaur like birds are thinking. It's just a fun time.
Yeah. And there's not many hunting experiences like this where you call, but it's more to know where they are, not necessarily to get them to come to you. Right?
Well,
Are there other
both. It's like, so, you call, locate them, get in the right position, and then try to get them to come to you. And, in hunting, there are other things sort of like it. A big debate in the hunting community and like the Western guys don't like it is guys from the East will say, oh, turkey hunting is just like hunting elk because elk you'll call and you'll work a bull that way. And guys out West are like, that's not even close to how it's totally different. And it's a whole thing. But, those are somewhat that you do that with elk sometime. And that's why people like it somewhat. Sometimes during the whitetail rut, you can really get, bucks worked up by grunting and rattling their antlers together and stuff, which you'll see this fall if we do a follow-up hunt in deer season here. But no, turkeys are, they're kind of unique in the way that you work with them in the woods.
Yeah, they're smart enough. If we were trying to like hunt crows or something like that, you'd probably have to do a similar technique just because there's there's a level of cognition there that, deer in normal times don't have. And, it's like turkeys might be the smartest thing we hunt, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, they're like both the smartest and so dumb.
Yeah.
It's like more like a computer than a sentient being sometimes to me. Like a weird computer. So we put him to bed first night, got out first morning, went to a spot that I liked that had a pre-made years ago, kind of made this natural blind with not that much cover, but just enough, to get him to come in. Where we're sitting it's a blind up against a tree that we made and in front of you have kind of two big oak trees. And what we've used it for in the past is right when they get behind those trees, I'll either draw or you get your shotgun up or whatever. And you use that moment of like blindness for them to move. And then when they come right in front of you, that's when you do it. Because they have such good eyes, which we learned that first morning.
Yeah. James had been, you've been lecturing me on ear protection, talking about hear relative deafness in one of your ears, and you were nice enough to hand me some, and I was pretty fixated on that. And so right as we see a black shadow moving across on that first day, I was just like, man, I got to get those in. Um, and yeah, and just that little movement of just like putting your AirPods in, it was yeah,
You
it
didn't like
kind of
it,
ruined a real good shot. But I didn't think I wasn't able to see him at the time, so it's like,
right?
if he saw my movement, um, he had some pretty good eyes there, or he was in a position to see me. But
Yeah.
you can beat yourself up about it. It could have been anything. A deer could have stepped on a twig or whatever. But
You never know, and it like I don't know. When I first started hunting, I got real into like trying to always dissect, and I still do why and like but sometimes it's just you don't win, and it's just that's the deal, and like that's what kind of makes it fun. And no, it's because I'm watching him the whole time, as this is happening in binoculars, and he's got that look like Jurassic Park when the raptor is like side eye looking in, and he's kind of doing that, and you can see his little stupid head, like thinking through stuff, and as we had talked about, it changes colors depending on how worked up it is. And it kind of changed to red, and then all of a sudden it just takes off, and you could hear it. They cluck when they get scared. It's like bop, 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 as he goes off. So, anyways, I mean that was the first morning, which was a cool way to start. I was excited about it just to have a chance to kind of play ball. This episode is brought to you by 2O Gear, innovators in technical hunting clothing. 2O is a newer company. It's based right here in Michigan, and whether you're hunting elk in the mountains or chasing antelope in the plains or traipsing through swamps after that ruddy buck, 2O has you covered with premium jackets and pants, merino wool layers, everything you could possibly need to stay comfortable in the woods. Their products are engineered for functionality and durability, ensuring you stay protected in any conditions. Plus, their camo is really effective. We're big fans. So don't take our word for it, though. Go to 2ogear.com and check it out.
yeah, and that would have been a really fun way to start a hunting life, is to kill something on your first morning out. But probably was a little too good to be true, and I might have made a mistake to give myself a more standard hunting experience, especially with turkey. But I also wonder, if we had just like set up more of a blind, if that could have helped. Like,
Yeah, that was
it's
my
funny.
takeaway.
Yeah, after you kind of get skunked on something, and then you see everyone else's hunting videos, and everyone with like taking pictures with their fans, and just people are just really in blinds, just blasting away at turkeys. I mean, what we were doing was like hunting on like super hard mode, and and I've seen what other people have. I mean, yeah, other people are just like they just like stay on the path where they know turkeys come every year, and they have a blind and they kill a turkey that way in the same spot every year, and then they tag out.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned from social media since our hunt.
There's a lot of that. Well, and
And it's not as sporting. I don't think. I think what we did was really sporting.
Yeah, I agree. I
not
like
an efficient way to hunt, maybe.
No, exactly. Well, and there's some. I mean, I love the run and gun. A new spot, get into a bird, set up. I love doing that, and so I was excited about that. But knowing that I had a spot picked out ahead of time, I should have put a tent out for us or popped one up when we got out, because turkeys, like deer, like a lot of times we'll see that and be like, what the heck is this square that just appeared, out in the woods? Turkeys don't often really get bothered by that. And so like in retrospect, having a tent, at least for that part, would have been money. But
yeah, but then I'm here with a tripod, with a with a red dot, with a tent, with a cameraman. Like, how much more do you add in to where it's like, wow, this is just like a totally kind of like completely contrived to have me pull a trigger pointing in the right direction,
Yeah, I'm the same way, and that's that's the age old hunting debate. Like, what is to set up? What is fair chase? What does that even look like? So, I just
Yeah.
go with what is usually most fun, and for me, oftentimes the most fun part is not even the killing him; it's just trying to chase him around.
Yeah.
Um,
But and you do think like, what would the rest of our day look like had like that moment happened right there? It's like, well, we would have killed a turkey, then we would have probably, I mean, maybe gone and like ate it for lunch, and then it's like, well, our tags are done. I mean, let's go fishing. But
yeah.
um, you set time aside for a hunt, and I think I think it's good to just like, you always want to get something, but it's good to spend that time
Oh man,
out
and
and
it's accurate.
yeah,
It's like how most hunting goes, you know.
yeah,
Although we could have gone and found Morels now that we know that dude's spot because
yeah,
like as Mark found out, like a common thing I run into when I turkey hunt because it's always on public land is, you run into a guy or a gal who's out looking for Morels and like you stumble on them and they probably heard you calling or whatever walking up, but
and they don't
most
have a gun.
they don't have a gun. We got, and they see us like they're like it's like you catch them with their hand in the cookie jar. They're like, oh, and they don't really want to interact with you. They don't really want much to. They don't want to talk to you really, because they don't want you to like take their spot. You know,
Yeah,
which now we know their spots because we found we found actually one day I took Mark to one of my favorite spots to hunt because it's just a long walk out there. I've done well with turkeys and deer out in this spot. And it's just kind of like a fun place where I've had really fun turkey hunts. And so we get all the way out there. I'm like, I think I might have I turned around to Mark and I'm like, we're about to get into turkeys. Like I was talking a big game, you know. And
but you
so,
said that about every spot too, so it was,
that is true.
this was
That's me. Now you know. That's
positive.
like
Yeah,
with me. Yeah, it's like I'm
you're always
hope.
on the verge.
Yeah, it's like, and you got to be an optimist with hunting because you never know. Usually it goes from nothing to. I saw somebody post the other day, like turkey hunting is like perfectly described as like you're sending your buddy a text at like 7:39, no gobbles yet, and then at like 40, it's you can text him like turkey down. Like it's from anything can happen in like
Yeah.
a moment. Um, and so no, yeah, I am pretty optimistic when I hunt. Pretty much always. But yeah, we get to this spot, I'm calling, I'm like, man, I'm not hearing anything. The heck, and you come over a ridge and there's one guy with his little, netting bag full of morels, and then you see another lady come and there. So that was a little heartbreaking because it took a while to get out there.
Yeah, but it's a good walk.
Good walk. Carrying a rifle. Did that rifle get heavy after a while? Did you ever notice the weight of it?
I felt like I got
Rifle,
better
not
at
round,
carrying it.
shotgun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I figured out like why the cadets carry the guns the way they do.
Yeah.
Like with the hand at the bottom, so you're not bending your elbow at all. Like that. That all makes a lot more sense if you hike, 12 miles carrying a shotgun. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Every
you
hunt
know,
that I do, I like where you're walking a lot. I'm always aware at some point of the weight of the weapon for whatever reason. It's like, dang it, if I could just leave my bow. Well, especially because, like you said, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not as successful, you're just hiking around carrying a rifle around or a shotgun or a bow or whatever. So it's like I could have just left that at home. It would have been a lot easier. The same result.
walking around, looking around, as they say.
Walking around, look. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. I mean,
But
so
it's
yeah,
also funny to be in like all like big woods and to
yeah.
call out and to just get nothing back, just complete silence at like 10 a.m. You go out. We were out there and the turkey started moving around like 5:45, 6 a.m. And that really, like, both days we were out, we had really good chances that
Mhm.
we were, the second day we set up, we had similarly good luck, where like there was a turkey we were talking to, and I think you feel that connection too, where it's like, oh no, like we're doing something here, and
Yeah,
then
we're interacting.
yeah, and then he kind of faded off, or yeah, ran down the ridge, and I don't know how we could have spooked him really, but
No, what happened with him, and I went back to he was on a bench in the woods, and he was far enough away it was just like he wanted us to come to him, and because we didn't, he's like, whatever, I'm out. And like
Yeah.
he just and that happens a lot turkey hunting where you'll get something struck up, get a gobbler going, and then they hang up. That's what we call it. You hang up, and then this thing hangs up out there, and then it takes off, and that's a tough turkey to hunt and to call in.
And it feels like you're really wasting your like your chance a little bit because
Yeah.
like that early morning seems to be
Yes.
like just based on what I'm seeing online is like that's when people kill turkeys like that you get like and it's kind of nice like you get a week to hunt depending on your tag situation you just spend every morning of a week waking up really early and sitting outside for like an hour or two and then going to work coming home
Yep.
like if that's
Does not
if you
suck.
just kind of define it as like my chances like these hour and a half each day, that works, you know.
Yeah. That's like for my personal turkey season. That's how I do it. It's like my early morning hours for this week are set for this. I'm not working out or doing whatever else. I'm just in the woods doing it. And then same for October through January. It's like, well, every morning doing this instead. And it's funny, like you had mentioned the sound of the birds. One of my favorite part of turkey hunting is how different the woods sound in the spring than in the fall, because everything's awake, everything's moving in the spring, and like the fall is a lot quieter and dead. But it's just so full of life, like you said. You get out there real early and you hear the first bird sound off, and then another one wakes up, and you're hearing them go back and forth. I mean, we were seeing wood ducks, and what else did we see? We saw
We saw
kestrel.
yeah, kestrel, yeah.
I mean, so you're seeing a lot of birds, right? And then you hear, like you had said, you hear one gobbler kind of wake up and gobble, and another one hears it in the tree, and then he's sounding off, and they gobble in the trees for a while before flying
Yeah.
down.
And where we were hunting too, there was like, so many of the trees were just like stick straight, no perpendicular branches. So it's like there was you knew which trees were even roostable,
Yeah.
like in a tract. Like
Yep.
as you said, it's not sporting to shoot them out of the tree, but it's like we know where the trees are.
Yeah, I've thought
You
about it.
know,
I'll admit, just in the early morning light, you can see them up in a tree, and if you can sneak in, just blasting them out, that is not acceptable. But it
yeah.
is, one of those intrusive thoughts that come into your head, especially
If
after
you're
you've been
hungry,
chasing them.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, first hunting trip, was it what you expected? Was it different? Like what, as a guy who has been around ish hunting, because you and I have
Yeah,
interacted a lot. What was the reality compared to what you expected? Like,
I think it was pretty similar. I don't know. Well, I don't know that I form all that many expectations. I have
yeah,
three kids under three, so it's like every day I just kind of wake up and what
go roll with
what
it.
awaits me. Is kind of a more of an active question, but I thought it was fun to be outside and hiking. It is funny that I used to do a lot more like hiking and you get like bad at it over time. I mean, I was doing
Mm.
things where instead of stepping over, I was kind of swinging my leg out, and then I had like a sore hip from that. It's like
Oh yeah.
you forget like weird stuff that, yeah, if you do 12 miles of this, you're gonna hurt yourself a little. Um, but yeah, I think too, it's just I think that if a lot of people knew that hunting wasn't this like you have to drive out into the wilderness and have like a cabin that your family's owned for 100 years and have to have like a super solid plan to do it. I think it'd be a lot more accessible. And I think what I came away with was just like, this could just be an hour of your day for like a
Yeah.
week in the spring. And depending on how many deer you want to hunt, if you find a place near your home that is like a good spot, like 20-minute drive or something like that brings the hunting barrier way down
Yeah.
for like a lot of people if you just kind of define it differently. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously it's, if you don't live by public land, that's tough, but if you can find a good spot where you have access, nearby, man, it's like not a big deal. I mean, you're probably up anyway in time to get the first light and to
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and like you don't even need that much gear. I mean, there's some gear you need, some basics, but like, and I love gear. I'm not saying anything about
Yeah.
that, but you don't need much to go. And we get these questions all the time about new hunters, or I wish you could you show me or tell me, or and we've tried to tell, but a lot of it is just like just go out there and like do it a bunch. Like anything else in life, you can read it. Like there's like reading, learning, or like hearing or whatever. But then the experiential part, that's where you
Yeah.
actually learn, and that's where it actually like is. At least for me in my mind, if I'm not like, most of the time, I learn by just kind of screwing up when I'm out there, and then just adjusting. You know.
And I think too, there's a supposition that people have a lot of kind of generational knowledge passed down to them. But it was funny talking to you, like your family, like everyone theoretically knows how to hunt, but they're not like master hunters. Like they're,
No.
like, and most people aren't. They're just they're people who are content to sit in a blind for a week every
Yeah.
fall and know how to fire a rifle. And like it really doesn't, and like there's so many rules that you think exist, but you mentioned your grandfather who was a smoker who, like, obviously deer have pretty good sense of smell, and a whole part of deer
Yeah.
hunting is theoretically not smelling like anything, and you're just like, nah, they're used to it.
And my
Like
dad, that's my dad. He's
no,
like,
that's your
oh, they
dad.
they smell it all the time.
They smell
I'm
all the
like,
time.
and what? Because some people, there's like different types of hunters. Like some are like, I just want to get away, be outside, be with the dudes, like do the thing or whatever. Some are like real into it, and so, most of my family leans one way, and I am, lean pretty hard the other way, which generally means, when we go out, I kind of am doing my own thing, because people are not always so thrilled about the places I like to go to hunt. And
But it's just all helpful to understand, I think. Yeah, people feel these barriers, but once you kind of have more of a firsthand connection with, like, this is how a family has passed on their hunting traditions, and let me tell you, it's not as formal as you would think.
no,
You
no.
know,
Well,
it's
like
just
I
it's
was,
really like you just have to carve out the time to be outside.
yeah, it's like when first got my rifle. I was maybe 10. I got a 22. It was like, here's a gun, and some basics about don't point it at anybody, but like not much beyond that. Like how to care for a gun. You get some things here and there, but very informal. If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
as a parent, that's terrifying, but I hear you.
Right? I think about that now, given my, I've got a daughter, but like given my 10-year-old
Yeah.
year old nephew, just a 22, it's like, what? Back in the day, though, man, parenting was different, in the
Yeah,
90s.
but the risks for with firearms are just so unbelievably obviously high. So,
Oh, my goodness. And yeah, and
but
yet here we are.
yeah, I could get it with like a BB gun or a pellet gun or something, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
to start off,
I started with my first gun was it was a BB slash pellet gun, and so you could kind of pick what you put in it. It was kind of like plasticky with metal, and like however many times you pumped you cocked it, like pumped it, like that's how powerful it would be. And so
oh,
I remember as a kid like putting it on the ground and really trying to get all the power. I'm like, I'm gonna take a deer down with my thing as a kid was like, all right, if I shot a deer in the eye with a pellet gun, I think I could kill it with this thing if I pumped it enough. That was like the thing I'm thinking about walking around
yeah,
with it.
your goal is just blinding a deer.
Just right. Well, and as we talked about, that eventually led to me, shooting at random things in the woods growing up, and encountering different animals that way as well. That you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, always in line with the Michigan DNR hunting code.
always,
I'm
yeah, that
sure.
was
Yeah, yeah, you could never.
ten
That
year.
was that was in your back pocket.
Yeah, me at 12 was very concerned about those things. We were talking like back then. I didn't really have a concept of property lines, or like,
Yeah.
I just kind of went and no one really cared. And that is very different now.
And
Definitely
around
different.
where we were hunting in Big Rapids, was the signage as good? Because it's like there's public land signs. Now you
Yeah.
have the Onyx app that, I
Yeah.
mean, but back then it was like the signage probably wasn't as good. There was
No
no
way.
apps.
It was like family land, and then
Yeah.
other family land, kind of friend land. And, you didn't really officially ask them, but they were fine. At the same time, we would drive four wheelers we would have four-wheelers we would take out, and just, I didn't know you couldn't drive in public on public land with, I would take them everywhere,
Yeah.
and finally one year when we were a little older, my brother was doing it and the DNR caught him. And like
Oh,
we had
really?
never seen a DNR back where we were, where our cottage was, and it was like one of the first times. And so he gets brought in, and we get a stern talking to about not, and that was the last time we were allowed to do it. But by that time I was, in my teens, and
Yeah.
had just kind of been a different concept of what, you were allowed to do and where you were allowed to do it. It's kind of burst a bubble. Actually, it was a cool life to live where you could just drive your four-wheeler anywhere.
Totally. And it's, I mean, that's a life that a lot of parents want for their kids. And I hear from all the time from people who live in the UP and or who visit, they're just like, it's just empty up here. Like there's no one to tell you what to do.
Right.
Like, there's like parking lots for the beach, but you just go literally anywhere and it's the beach.
Yeah. Just
And
scope for the imagination. And I feel
yeah,
like kids need
yeah,
more of a blank canvas than pre-planned structured activities sometimes. And like I was
yeah,
telling you, when I was a kid, it was go outside, and like I could walk anywhere. And you saw how far away we would just walk down the road or into the woods. And that is kind of like one of the things that got me to want to spend most of my life out in the woods, were those kind of moments where I'm like, you experience a freedom that you really don't have as a kid anywhere else.
yeah, totally. But you have
So,
to be given the opportunity too.
right, you
So,
need the
but it's
space and the
yeah,
time.
and as an adult, it's fun to kind of rekindle that,
Yeah.
just by, I think hunting is a way to do that. Because like as an adult, you have less tolerance for just kind of like going and playing stick swords in the
Yeah.
woods, right? You need something a little bit more engaging.
A
Um,
mission. You need a real mission.
yeah, yeah,
And we had a mission. We didn't complete our mission. That just means, it increases how much you're looking forward to it next time.
yeah,
And that is what makes things great. So no, I mean, I had a great time. I mean, we ate well. I mean, I saw you smoke more cigars than I've seen someone smoke in a while, and it was something cool. Like I'd turn around and you just be like walking around with a shotgun over your shoulder, smoking a big old cigar. It was
yeah.
manly
Like
stuff.
a Vietnam vet.
It was the night screaming that really made you like it. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
So
yeah. It's, if you're outside and you're not smoking, what are you doing?
exactly. You need tobacco or alcohol at some point on a trip for hunting, and during the day it's tobacco. During the evening it's ours. It's more of the alcohol. Some people get those
Yeah.
lines a little bit blurred, but you know
Yeah. Yeah. High noon seems to blur those lines, it's kind of a day
I
drink. It's like a
I'm a
fun
big
day
high
drink.
noons guy. Yeah, an afternoon nooner. It really that's what it's called. So I mean, it
Yeah.
would make sense not to celebrate 12 o'clock with a nooner out in the woods.
That's some good product marketing.
That's right. That's right.
You can have it whenever.
So I have a question for you. We can wrap it up here.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, first time turkey hunting, first time hunting at all. Now, Mark, we're recording this May 9, Mark. What would you have told April 9, Mark, about this trip as you kind of got ready for it? Like, what's something new you would have, prepared yourself for?
Don't move.
Don't move. Don't move.
Yeah. I think too, it's you will it's it's easy to underestimate how cold you can be sleeping in outside in the spring. I think, I thought I was kind of tough, but I was like, no, that was really cold. And
It's
it's
uncomfortable.
so funny that we could have just bought hand warmers and it would have been fine, but we didn't. So,
Well, you didn't even complain. I didn't even know you were
well, I'm
suffering.
not I'm not a whiner, but
No, I would
and
have. I would
it's
have.
fine.
My trick is I should have done this. That boiling water and an Nalgene and throw it in there in your
Oh
sleeping bag.
yeah, yeah,
Should
yeah.
have done that. What I did was I brought cots, and cots are really great for a lot of things. We slept in like a floorless teepee from Kifaru, and
It was awesome.
it was awesome. But what happens is you get airflow underneath you. So when it's cold on a cot, it's best to put like a mat down under your sleeping bag or your bag, or even like a blanket. I just, like I said, I didn't think it'd be that cold. I just wasn't out on my radar. So I learned some some
Well, we
things
were looking
about.
at the weather wasn't saying that though.
Yeah,
We
it's true.
just we worked with what we had, but yeah, 25 degrees in the middle of the night as opposed to like the 40 or something that it said it was going to be was
Yeah,
yeah, that
a
was
little
surprising.
different.
But yeah, I do think yeah, with turkey hunting, it's like no, they can really see you. It's not. This is not. That's not a. It's not an adage. It's not a joke.
No,
It's they can see you.
like supervision.
Yeah.
When I got started turkey hunting later in life, so I've probably done it for a little over 10 years now, but not as early as deer hunting. So, one of the guys that showed me was Jared, actually, who had done it with his dad and another, um, year growing up. And that was like, he just would say, don't move, don't move, don't move, don't move. They could see, he hammered it in my brain back then. And like, ever since, I should have, it's funny because I've taken Tom, my brother, out hunting. I've taken other people and they always are like, all you say is don't move, don't move, don't move. And you say it so much, it stresses me out. So for you, I was like, all right, I'm just going to like say less and just,
I thought you
not.
had said it plenty, but you have to have an experience like that to drive it home.
Yeah.
Like until then, it's not real.
Yeah.
So
No, it was a good time. I love turkey hunting. Now it's, May, and I guess we fish now for a while and wait for the fall and do other things. But I
yeah,
appreciate you coming out and like being willing to do it. It was fun. And I love to
yeah.
take new people out.
And it's also it's interesting getting the base license too, because it's like, well, now you've paid for all of it.
Yeah.
Like
Go again.
you got to get the tags, but um, yeah, it's interesting how they the the way the regulations are set up, they're kind of inviting you to do all the seasons,
Yeah.
not to stop there,
Yeah.
um, which I think is great.
Yeah, it is great. It's a wonderful thing. We generally speaking, our country does a good job with tags and how it manages stuff. So, well, everybody, thanks for listening in. I would say keep an eye out. We'll post some different media from the trip and check out the Enjoyer. I write on there occasionally, a couple times a month, and just finished one on porcupines and my hatred for them just because of their smell. That for some reason is stuck in my brain like a porcupine quill. But anyways, yeah, check it out. Follow us. If you have questions or you have ideas or thoughts or anything, don't hesitate to write in, and we appreciate you guys listening in.